who would be the person you would want to have your last deep philosophical conversation with? Is there anyone whose mind you'd really like to tap into towards the end of your life?
I think Dan Dennett and I could do that very conveniently if he could stand it. I wouldn't mind having him sitting at the bedside. As a matter of fact, I'm reminded of how my good friend Jerry Andrus, whose name you may not know, he was a very famous magician. He was a magician's magician. He didn't perform publicly, but he performed for the magicians and invented effects for them. And Jerry Andrus was one of the most wonderful persons I ever knew in my life. I knew him a very long time, too, almost as long as I knew Martin Gardner. And my friend Ray Hyman, a psychologist, was with Jerry when he passed. And he was reading to Jerry from one of Jerry's favorite books. And Jerry interrupted him and said, "Ray, I'm going to close my eyes now and take a little bit of a nap, if you don't mind." And Ray said, "Will you do that?" He turned down the light, and Jerry leaned back, took a deep breath, died. Now that's the way to go. He simply died in a dignified manner. If I can go that way, that's what I want to do. I'd rather go fighting somebody on a stage or something like that. But if I have to do it in bed, I would like to do it as well and as dignified, in as good a position and under as good conditions as it was done for Jerry Andrus. I wanted to do it with class, and Jerry Andrus was a class act. So as I say goodbye to you after this interview, I hope you won't say that, or think for a moment that this is the last time we'll speak. I always say when they ask me my age, I'm 83 going on 100, because I'm optimistic, to say the least.
I think you can go even further than that, sir. What do you think of the current atheism movement? Where do you see the atheist community going in the next century?
Well, one thing I would caution all atheists about: don't become cynics. Don't get so strident that you will alienate people. Those folks out there, they're clinging to their religious beliefs because they need them. They wouldn't embrace such silly things that they didn't really need them to be true for them. So be kind. Kind words and gentle persuasion will win you more converts if that's what you want to do. I don't think the atheist job should be to make people look silly. We shouldn't make them look that way. You've got to sit and you've got to talk with people in a reasonable way and hope that you can convince them. And I've had many people that I've spoken to like that come back to me sometimes years later and say, "You know, that talk you had with me was very important to me, and I've really changed my mind." That's the greatest victory you can have over someone's decisions. So try for that. And you can only get it with kindness. You can't get it with bitterness or rancor. It does not work. These people will be offended and they will fight back. And what you want is that they will accept what you're saying and think about it. I always say to my audiences as I leave them, don't believe what I've told you. Just investigate whether or not I'm right. That's all I can ask of them, and I do.
Have you ever been pushed from just frustration towards yelling at people for their beliefs? Did everyone just really get to you and you just couldn't contain yourself?
No, I hope not. I hope not. I may have in former years. I don't remember any such episode. But I merely say, my books are there. You can read them if you wish. And they immediately answer, "No, I don't want to see those awful books because they're full of lies." Well, if that's your opinion, I have to accept that, and perhaps you'll think more about it. Perhaps you won't. I'm sorry. I have to be kindly, and I have to, and I'm not being demeaning to them. I'm not being patronizing to them at all. That's just the way I think, and I believe I'm right. That doesn't mean that I'm absolutely convinced. I can be shown. You show me evidence. Hey, I've got $1 million as a prize if you can show me the evidence. So step right up.
What did you think about the Reason rally?
You know, I was backstage with Dawkins and oh goodness, with so many people. it was quite a heady experience, but I had to ask myself at the same time, and I almost asked it on stage, why do we have to have a rally for a reason? We don't have a rally for asparagus. We don't have a rally for true love. No, we don't. But for reason, we have to have a rally. I don't think we really have to do that. And it may not happen next year, though this one was a a resounding success that the press, the media was just not ready to cover, unfortunately.
Where do you see atheism going in the future? Do you think that the world is going to embrace that philosophy or lack thereof, depending on your view, in the coming century, or do you see it remaining rather static?
Well, if you look at history, you can see that it has been getting better and better. We now have uh, organizations like your own, for example, that are dedicated to preaching atheism, if I can use that combination of words. That's a bad combination, I think, but that we can do this sort of thing. We know we have the right to do this sort of thing. Freedom of expression is still part of the American way of life. There are other countries around this world where that cannot be done. Some good friends of mine in India are in trouble for saying exactly what you are saying or what I'm saying, and we're trying to do something to help them. The whole world is not in agreement with us on this particular subject, but I think things are getting better. I see hope for the future. I don't. I've never said I want to generate the future. Maybe I'd be disappointed, so maybe I don't want to do that. In any case, it's not possible to do that.
You spent the vast majority of your life, more than 80 years if we count from birth, which I understand you don't generally do that, but as a closeted homosexual. And on your website, you claim it was seeing the movie Milk, about the first openly gay man to get elected to California public office. And that's what got you to come out. What was that experience like for you?
It was painless, quite painless. I had now the reason that I hadn't come out before. I don't like that expression very much, but the reason I hadn't come out before officially and publicly was it's just nobody's business. All my friends knew, my family certainly knew, of course, and anyone close to me whatsoever would learn it soon enough. I never denied it. It was nothing to be ashamed of, and it still is nothing to be ashamed of.
Mm-hmm.
It's my way of life. But the reason I came out with it when I did was because I have this 10th book coming out, Magician in the Laboratory, and the grubbies out there are very big on revealing secrets about the person who has secrets. Oh, wow. And they have dropped away like flies, and I'm very close analogy there, flies, yes. They have dropped away like flies. They're not bringing it up anymore because I've disarmed them by coming out officially. And I did it simply to establish that I'm here, warts and all, and I have nothing to hide. And I have nothing to hide. I'm exactly what you see. What you see is what you get. And I bear no stigma with this sort of thing. And the acceptance of it across the world has been great. One bit of fallout from it that I did not expect, that was very welcome, was that a lot of young people were contacting me who had never contacted me before that I know of, and said, "You've given me the courage to do the same thing." Wow. I didn't realize that it would have that effect. If I'd thought about it, perhaps I would have decided that that was a possible outcome of it, but that pleases me a great deal. If I've given some young people at the beginnings of their lives some sort of impetus to be able to do exactly the same thing and say, "This is me, take it or leave it." And so far, the results have been very good, and I've had no problem with it whatsoever, really. I didn't try to conceal it. No, if I was ever asked if anyone expressed curiosity about it, I would tell them the whole story if they wanted to hear the whole story. But yes, no, I never made any concealment of the fact. No, not at all. I didn't have to. After all, when you're in show business, there's almost a certain supposition that you're going to be strange in some ways. because that's the way show people are. And I had no problem with the situation at all.
I bet you could use that strange vibe to your advantage if you're a magician.
Well, that's true.
Do you wish you had come out sooner then, publicly? No?
No, no, it wasn't necessary. And as I say, all my friends and family and all my acquaintances, business acquaintances and confidants, they all knew it, and they were able to ignore it with no trouble at all. So it wasn't any disadvantage to me to not have come out sooner.
Now there's a lot of acceptance, and you could come out and say that, and there's no legal issue and all of that with being gay. But back in the 60s or 70s, especially the 50s, that was not the case. How did you live with the society at that point then?
Well, I just didn't make a big deal of it. I didn't flaunt it. I don't flaunt it now, of course. But no, there's that there were millions of homosexuals all over the world who survived through that era. At one point, it was seriously frowned upon, so to speak, but we managed to survive, and we're out there and we're out here.
So, what would you say is the most important thing you've learned in your life? If there's anything, is there any one thing that you can think of that has just guided you?
The good friends I've known. I have had the great privilege of knowing, well, Martin up on the wall there. You hear that, Martin? And you have people like Richard Dawkins and Isaac Asimov and all of these folks. Carl Sagan, my goodness, how I cherish the moments that I spent with Carl in many parts of the world, as a matter of fact. I have been so fortunate to rub shoulders with these people and to receive an amount of approbation from them, if not outright acceptance. I've been very fortunate in that. And knowing great people is something that not every layman can do. But when you're in the entertainment business and when you're a writer and when you're publicly known as I am, you get that opportunity, and I have played it to the hilt all the way. I'm very proud of the fact that I know these fine people, and they have had an influence on me and have shaped my future. So I think that's one of the most fortunate things that has ever happened to me.
Is there anyone you wish you could have met that you didn't get the opportunity to yet? Or
yeah, Peter Ustinov, Margaret Rutherford, a few other people like that. I always forget the fact that I came that close to meeting them. I spoke with them, with Margaret very briefly one time on the phone just to have a laugh. And I knew, oh well, the Wicked Witch of the West, Margaret Hamilton. I knew her rather well. She used to come around and sit on a microphone with me at WOF New York when I did my all-night radio program back in the 60s. And she got to be a buddy of mine, and I learned to do her laugh as well. But if I do that, I'll arouse all the neighbors, I'm sure, and they'll all be screaming, "The witch is back." So I better not do it. But no, they're wonderful people I've known in my life, and the relationships we've had. I feel very, very fortunate indeed.
I'm interested to know, before the invention of the scientific method in, say, the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, do you think if you had been born in that time period, you would have been less skeptical or believed in the supernatural, or do you think you'd still be very similar to how you are today?
No, I think I would probably have been burned at the stake. When I speak on campuses, I often get questions from the students. They say, "Where will you be speaking on campus?" And I say, "Oh, it's very simple. Just go there after dark and listen for the sound of clashing scythes and pitchforks, yes, and mumbling, murmuring. And if you hear a burgomaster out there saying, 'Go to your homes, there's no monster indeed.'" Or did you ever see The Bride of Frankenstein?
I'm familiar with the scene you're describing, yes.
No, I often say that. I would have been burned along with the Frankenstein monster, I'm afraid.
How of the people that you've interacted with that make claims, how many just based off of your intuition, how many do you think are obvious charlatans, and how many do you think are just sorely mistaken?
The charlatans don't come to us because they know they're going to be exposed like that. No problem at all. They know that we know what we're doing, and they know that we know their methods, and we will expose them. So they don't come anywhere near us. Sylvia Browne promised on the Larry King show that she would take me up with a $1 million offer. Then she said that she couldn't find me. Wait a minute. She talks to dead people? And on Sylvia, that's not much of an excuse. So these people like John Edward, his agent, wrote me and said, Mr. Edward does not respond to criticism. That was the whole note. I believe that's true. He doesn't respond to criticism. But these are people I don't care about. They won't be tested. They won't come forward to prove their case because they don't need to. And I don't need them, but they don't need me. So no problem there.
So you are now 83 years old. You have received dozens of awards, produced multiple television programs and publications. At this point in your life, is there anything else you still want to achieve?
Oh, I want to do more of the same. I want to reach more people. And every time somebody comes to me with tears in their eyes saying, you made a big change in my life, Mr. Randi, what a victory. What a victory. I think I've done the right thing with that person, and that person is better off for it. If I can hope to see more people like that, particularly young people who are starting their lives, and about whom I may have had something to say or upon whom I may have had some effect, that's very rewarding. That is my reward, always. And I just look for more rewarding experience.
I greatly appreciate your time, Mr. Randi. Thank you very much. The Amazing Randi, everyone.